What truly makes a woman irresistible? Her beauty, or something much deeper that operates in the shadows? Sigmund Freud recognized over a century ago that genuine attraction doesn't lie in what we consciously display, but in what unconsciously radiates from within us. A mature woman possesses a special form of magnetism, one that doesn't emerge from youth or external perfection, but from 6 unconscious habits that shape her very essence. These habits don't develop overnight. They evolve through life experience, through living highs and lows, through learning what truly matters. Freud would say that these women have learned to integrate their superego without suppressing their id, a psychological balance that magnetically attracts others. Today, you'll discover what these 6 habits are and why they make a woman not just attractive, but absolutely irresistible. We're talking about hidden psychological mechanisms that run deeper than any superficial charm. If you want to continue exploring the secrets of human behavior, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey into the subconscious. There are women who enter a room and immediately radiate a special energy, not through loud gestures or flashy clothing, but through something much more subtle emotional maturity. Sigmund Freud described this as the ability to maintain the different instances of the psyche, the id, ego, and superego, in harmonious balance. What does this mean concretely? An emotionally mature woman has learned to understand her feelings without being overwhelmed by them. She knows her boundaries and needs without appearing narcissistic or selfish. This inner clarity radiates outward and works on an unconscious level that's immensely attractive. Think about a situation where you met a woman you didn't immediately perceive as beautiful in the conventional sense, but who nonetheless had an irresistible aura. Probably it was her way of handling difficult situations, her calmness in stressful moments, or her ability to make others feel understood. Freud would explain that this attraction occurs because we unconsciously seek people who embody what we ourselves would like to be. An emotionally mature woman represents psychological stability, something every human being yearns for, even if they don't consciously realize it. This emotional maturity shows itself in small, everyday moments when she doesn't immediately become defensive in a conflict, but first listens and reflects. When she receives bad news and first sorts through her own emotions before reacting. When she's empathetic toward other people without losing herself in the process. The fascinating thing about this is that this habit works completely unconsciously. The woman herself is often unaware of what effect her emotional stability has on others. She simply acts from her inner clarity, and it's this authenticity that magically attracts other people. From a psychoanalytic perspective, this works because emotional maturity conveys security. Our subconscious constantly searches for signs of stability and reliability, evolutionary programs that are deeply embedded within us. A woman who has emotionally matured sends out these signals without consciously doing so. This first unconscious habit, emotional maturity, is the foundation for all others. It creates the trust and security necessary for other people to feel comfortable and understood in her presence. It's not the absence of emotions, but the conscious, mature handling of them that truly makes a woman irresistible. The second unconscious habit that makes a mature woman irresistible is paradoxical. It's not the pursuit of perfection, but the complete acceptance of her imperfection. Sigmund Freud recognized that humans are most authentic when they stop playing a role and begin accepting themselves with all their shadows and bright sides. A woman with authentic self-acceptance has made inner peace with herself. She knows her weaknesses and doesn't frantically hide them, but she doesn't define herself through them either. She's aware of her strengths without becoming arrogant. This balance between self-knowledge and self-love is something other people subconsciously sense and find irresistible. Imagine meeting a woman who can openly talk about her mistakes without putting herself down, who laughs when she makes an error instead of feeling ashamed, who admits when she doesn't know something without apologizing for it. This honesty with herself radiates a strength that works deeper than any external perfection. From a psychoanalytic perspective, this functions through a mechanism Freud called sublimation. Instead of using her energy to maintain a false self-image, a self-accepting woman channels her psychic energy into authentic being. This authenticity is immediately recognized by other people's subconscious and classified as trustworthy. The secret lies in the fact that authentic self-acceptance gives other people permission to be themselves too. In the presence of a woman who completely accepts herself, others feel relaxed and genuine. They don't have to wear a mask or play a role. This psychological security creates a deep form of connection. Interestingly, this habit is often misunderstood. It's not about becoming self-satisfied or indifferent toward personal growth. On the contrary, true self-acceptance is the starting point for genuine change. A woman who completely accepts herself can honestly look at where improvement is possible without judging herself in the process. This inner peace with herself shows in small gestures how she handles compliments, neither defensively nor excessively needy. How she reacts to criticism, neither defensive nor self-destructive. How she talks about her past, neither embellishing nor self-accusing. Freud would say that such a woman has overcome her neurotic patterns. She no longer fights windmills within herself, but has made peace with her psychological landscape. This inner harmony radiates outward and affects others like a safe harbor in a stormy sea. The unconscious of other people immediately recognizes this authenticity. It's like a psychological compass that can distinguish genuine self-acceptance from performed self-confidence. That's why a woman with this habit doesn't just appear attractive, but genuinely healing to her environment. She reminds others of what's possible when you stop fighting against yourself. The fourth unconscious habit that makes a mature woman irresistible seems paradoxical. At first glance, it's her ability to say no clearly and lovingly. Sigmund Freud understood that healthy boundaries aren't walls that separate, but bridges that make genuine connections possible in the first place. A woman who knows and respects her boundaries automatically teaches others to respect them as well. This habit develops over years of experience. A mature woman has learned that she's not responsible for everyone else's happiness and that sacrificing her own needs doesn't really serve anyone. She's understood that self-love and consideration for others aren't opposites, but complement each other. Think about a situation where someone made an unreasonable request of you. If you agreed out of politeness or guilt, even though it harmed you, how did you feel about it? Probably exploited and disrespected. A woman with healthy boundaries would have declined lovingly but firmly, and paradoxically gained more respect through it. From a psychoanalytic perspective, boundaries function as a psychological immune system. They protect the integrity of the self and prevent others from projecting their unconscious conflicts and needs onto us. Freud recognized that people who have no boundaries often become projection screens for other people's unresolved problems. A woman with this habit doesn't simply say no out of defiance or selfishness. She does it from deep self-knowledge. She knows where her capacities lie, what her values are, and what she feels comfortable with. She radiates this clarity without appearing aggressive or closed off. The fascinating thing about this is the psychological effect on others. People unconsciously respect those who respect themselves. A woman who has clear boundaries signals self-worth and inner strength. She shows that she considers herself important enough to stand up for her own needs, a quality others find attractive and trustworthy. These boundaries show themselves in everyday situations. She doesn't let herself be talked into activities she doesn't like. She doesn't tolerate disrespectful treatment without becoming aggressive. She gladly helps, but not at the expense of her own health or important obligations. She can communicate lovingly but firmly when someone crosses her boundaries. Freud would explain that this habit emerges from a mature integration of the superego. Instead of being guided by excessive guilt or the need for recognition, she acts from a balanced value system. She's learned to distinguish between healthy consideration and self-destructive self-sacrifice. The unconscious of other people immediately recognizes this inner strength. We feel drawn to people who know what they want and what they don't. It conveys security and clarity in a world full of uncertainty. A woman with healthy boundaries is predictable in her values, but not boring. She's authentic and reliable. Ironically, clear boundaries don't lead to distance, but to deeper intimacy. When people know where they stand and what they can expect, they can relax and enter into genuine connections. Boundaries create the safe space where true closeness can emerge. The fifth unconscious habit of an irresistible, mature woman is perhaps the most paradoxical of all her emotional independence. She doesn't need other people to feel complete, and precisely because of this, others are magnetically drawn to her. Sigmund Freud recognized that true attraction often emerges from a state of psychological completeness, not from lack or neediness. This inner security develops through life experience and self-reflection. A mature woman has learned not to make her emotional stability dependent on others' validation. She's made peace with solitude and can keep herself company. This independence doesn't make her cold or distant. On the contrary, she can love more freely and authentically because she gives from abundance, not from lack. Imagine encountering a woman who obviously enjoys being in company, but also seems completely content when alone, who doesn't constantly check her phone to see if someone has written, who pursues interesting hobbies, maintains meaningful friendships, and leads a fulfilling life, regardless of whether she's in a relationship or not. This self-sufficiency radiates a special calmness. From a psychoanalytic perspective, this habit represents what Freud described as primary narcissism in its healthy form, a fundamental self-love that doesn't come at others' expense but forms the basis for all further relationships. A woman with inner security hasn't built her self-worth on external sources but on a solid inner foundation. This emotional independence shows itself in subtle behaviors. She can accept compliments without being excessively dependent on them. She doesn't react with panic when someone doesn't respond immediately. She can go alone to restaurants, movies, or on trips without feeling incomplete. She has her own opinions and interests that aren't aimed at pleasing others. The fascinating thing about this is the magnetic effect of this independence. People are unconsciously drawn to those who embody what they themselves want to achieve: inner peace and self-sufficiency. A woman who doesn't appear needy awakens the desire to become part of her world, not out of pity or feeling needed, but from genuine admiration and attraction. Freud would explain that this inner security activates other people's attachment system in a healthy way. Instead of being bound by fear or dependency, people feel drawn to her because she radiates stability and emotional maturity. She represents what the unconscious recognizes as an ideal partner, someone who is an enrichment, not an obligation. This composure shows especially in interpersonal conflicts. She doesn't panic when someone is in a bad mood because she knows she's not responsible for others' emotions. She doesn't immediately take criticism personally because her self-worth doesn't depend on others' opinions. She can give space without feeling neglected and offer closeness without losing herself. The paradox is perfect. The less she needs others, the more others want to be with her. Her emotional independence creates a safe harbor for others, a place where they can relax without feeling like they constantly have to emotionally support someone or keep them happy. This freedom is irresistible. The sixth and perhaps most powerful unconscious habit of an irresistible, mature woman is her quiet strength, an inner power that doesn't have to be loud to be heard. Sigmund Freud recognized that true power often lies in restraint, in the ability to possess strength without constantly having to demonstrate it. These women have learned that silence often speaks louder than words. Quiet strength is not passivity or weakness. It's a woman's conscious decision to use her energy wisely. She's understood that she doesn't have to fight every battle, correct every opinion, or dominate every room to be valuable. This composure springs from deep trust in her own worth and abilities. Think of moments when you experienced a woman who remained calm in heated discussions, who kept a cool head in chaotic situations, or who made difficult decisions with remarkable tranquility. This quiet strength works like an anchor in stormy times. Other people automatically feel drawn to this stability. From a psychoanalytic perspective, quiet strength represents complete integration of personality. Freud would say that these women have largely resolved their inner conflicts and therefore no longer need to constantly prove their power or worth. They've made peace with themselves and can act from this inner calm. This habit shows itself in countless small moments. She doesn't have to have the last word. Even when she's right, she can give compliments without wanting to draw attention to herself. She supports others without expecting anything in return. She can be silent when others speak and speak when her contribution is really needed. The secret of her attraction lies in the fact that quiet strength conveys security. In a world full of noise and superficiality, a woman who doesn't constantly fight for attention seems like an oasis of calm. People instinctively sense that they can be authentic around her without having to compete. Freud would explain that this quiet strength is the result of successful sublimation, the transformation of primitive drive energy into higher cultural forms of expression. Instead of investing her strength in drama or power struggles, she channels her energy into constructive, nourishing activities. These women intuitively understand something. Important true power lies not in dominating, but in inspiring. They lead by example, not by force. They influence through their presence, not through their words. This subtle form of leadership is immensely attractive because it makes others feel they themselves have grown and become stronger. The quiet strength of a mature woman also has a mysterious quality. It leaves room for interpretation and discovery. People are curious about what lies beneath the surface, about the stories and experiences that led to this remarkable calm. In the end, it's this combination of all 6 habits: emotional maturity, self-acceptance, conscious listening, healthy boundaries, inner security, and quiet strength that truly makes a mature woman irresistible. She's learned that true attraction comes from within and that the most powerful presence is often the quietest one. From which city are you watching this? Comment down below.